Jana, we're talking about Pinterest mistakes that coaches and service providers make this week, and I'm putting
Yeah.
you in the hot seat
Yeah. Yeah. So we've
because this is your bread and butter.
yeah, it's true. So we've been doing this series of Pinterest mistakes, and we wanted to really dive deep and speak directly to some of our to people who are in certain business models, right? So we already did a couple of them about product sellers and digital product sellers, and we're going to be talking about Pinterest for bloggers in a couple of weeks. Today we're talking to coaches and service providers who want to use Pinterest to grow their audiences on autopilot and get clients, right? Like if your goal is to get clients with your content, because you're a coach or a service provider, um, that's what we're talking about today is using Pinterest to do that. So, yeah. And, next week we're talking about bloggers. And I say all the time that, you're a coach or a service provider with a blog, not a blogger. Same thing with Pinterest, right?
Yeah.
Like the strategies are really very different
Mhm.
for all these different business models. So it's really, this is our opportunity kind of like dig in a little bit deeper for people.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
we have some things that we want to talk about, but I'm just gonna like kick it back to you and let you take us off with the
Sure.
first mistake that you think.
Yeah, I mean, I brought like three big mistakes that I really would love to help any coaches and service providers who are watching now and later on the replay, just to kind of like help them sidestep these because anytime we can like shorten the learning curve for people, we want to do that, right? And we're not just going to like cover mistakes, just like we always, our policy is like we don't just tell you what not to do. We'll also give you some idea about like what to do instead. So the first mistake that I brought out is just like, and these are kind of like in no particular order, but it's the first one that I think of because these days I'm very focused on content that converts. So one of the mistakes I've seen so many coaches and service providers make over the years with Pinterest, and these are all my clients that I've been working with for the last, 8 years or so, because I focus really on Pinterest for coaches and service providers and students who've taken my Pinterest with Purpose course over the years. And the big mistake, like one of the big mistakes I see is that they don't have any long form content to actually pin to Pinterest. And so there's a couple of ways that this can kind of show up. One is that they only have short form content. And short form content, meaning like Instagram posts, for example, or they write emails to their list, but there's nowhere where they can send those links, right? Or if they are, I mean, I've occasionally seen people try to do something creative where they send Pinterest pins to like the URL that ConvertKit or ActiveCampaign makes for your email or something like that. But unfortunately, that doesn't really work as like a sustainable strategy for various reasons. Mostly because Pinterest really wants to send pinners to your claimed domain so that they know they're sending people to a trustworthy place, right? But so the mistake is not having that long form content. So that's like, sorry. So it shows up sometimes for people because they have short form content. And then other times it shows up for people because it's kind of related to like something I talk about a lot of my content these days, which is there are still a lot of people who kind of feel like if they curate content, that they're going to somehow magically be able to turn that into clients. So, like,
Mhm.
let's say you are a mindfulness coach. A lot of people who start marketing a business like that, whether it's Pinterest or anywhere, they think, well, if I just kind of like gather resources for people, and I'm like the person who has like all the inspirational quotes from Brene Brown and Mel Robbins and whatever, or I'm the person, let's say you're a health coach that's going to like share recipes for people and like the nutrition content of certain foods and things like that. So it's the same that people think that that's going to get them clients. And actually, there are certain things that your audience needs to hear and learn and understand more deeply to be ready to buy. And those things ain't it.
Yeah.
So how I tie this back to the Pinterest thing and the mistake I see a lot of coaches making is they're sort of thinking like, okay, Pinterest, that's a place where there's a lot of inspirational quotes and there's a lot of recipes, right? And so in their minds, they're like, okay, I'm going to create all these amazing boards and I'm going to curate content. But unfortunately, again, that doesn't really alone. I mean, it can work like as a sort of a secondary part of your strategy, but that doesn't work alone. What you really need to be doing is pinning your own content. And I believe that needs to be long form content because it needs to be on your website for Pinterest to really want to send people there. And because long form content actually converts faster and better in this era in 2024 and it has for a while now, but it's gotten even more pronounced now, than does short form content. So those are a couple of things that are kind of going on there. There's a lot of layers to that mistake, but I think the biggest, not the biggest, but the first mistake I wanted to bring to the table was just not having long form content, of some sort to send people to, whether that's a blog, which is
Hmm.
my favorite, or YouTube, or podcast episodes that have show notes. So, and then I do want to just make sure I cover what to do instead. So we're not
Yeah.
just leaving people hanging, but I don't know if you have any, like, I don't know, reactions or things you want to share since I'm blah, blah, blahing before I talk about
No,
what to
I
do.
just listening.
You're on board, I
Yeah.
know.
I'm allowed a word in here, Jana.
You're what?
I'm allowed a word in here.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh my God. Time out, Jana. Be quiet. Close your mouth. Let Heather say something.
No, I think obviously we share a brain in a lot of ways, and I agree with everything that you're saying. And I've actually encountered a lot of people who have felt like if they just curate on Pinterest, that's somehow going to convert into traffic or whatever to their websites. And unfortunately, it doesn't, like, the algorithm does work in a way similar to that, but it
Mm,
does not work that way, generally speaking. So what I mean by the algorithm can work in that way is that there's a recommendation algorithm. So if you pin something that is in the realm of, mindfulness,
mhm.
but it's not related to your business or it's not your business's pin, someone might then be able to go on and see some of your content in their feed, but
If it's
chances
there.
are, right? Chances are what they're actually going to see is content from the original creator's pin that you pinned.
Oh,
You
interesting.
saved, so
Right.
I save your pin to my boards, and then Teresa comes along and she interacts with your pin that I saved on my board.
hmm
She's more likely to actually get served more of your content than mine.
hmm
She might get a
So,
sprinkling of my content, but
mhm,
generally the recommendation algorithm works in that, at least this is how I've observed,
mhm.
that the person's pin that it belongs to, the claim domain that it belongs to, is
Right.
the person on the receiving end of the engagement.
Right. So in the analogy that I was using, it's kind of like, if you pin a quote from, if you repin something Brene Brown pinned, for example, then it's more likely that they're going to be shown more of Brene Brown's content if they engage with your pin. I think the coaches who I see, what they do sometimes is they'll create their own graphics that have like a Brene Brown quote.
Yeah.
But what happens is they often don't have a link to it. Like they'll just put the quote up thinking like, okay, I'm going to be adding these quotes to this board and it's going to inspire people who see them and they're going to want to come and see who I am that's pinning this to this board. And I get it, you know what I mean? And there is a chance that that could work.
Yeah.
But it's not like you were saying that the algorithm can work that way. And it's true that the algorithm might then also recommend other pins you have on that board. And hopefully some of those are yours again. But the mistake here that I'm saying is like you don't have any that are yours because there's nowhere to send them. There's no long
Yeah.
form content. But even if the algorithm works that way, like the human brain doesn't really work that way. Like the human brain doesn't see something from Brene Brown and think like, whoever posted that is a genius and I need to hire them as my coach. You know what I mean? So,
Well,
but that's
and
like that's kind of another issue altogether.
let
But
me just be a spoiler sport here for just a second, Jana. Um, there are features on Apple devices now that all of the Pinterest girlies love to use, and they're very popular among the Pinterest girlies who are iPad users and iPhone users, especially. I even use them because I really like how they look, and it just provides, I don't have any on this home screen right now, but I do on this one, I think.
mhm.
But there are these little things that people can create on your iPhone, and I actually have one right here, and it's going to be really hard to see, but you see that little
Oh
box?
yeah. Yep. So they make little
That's
quotes.
feeding in a board from
Yeah.
Pinterest that I pin to inspirational quotes to.
Yep.
So in this instance, in this example of what we're talking about of just pinning
hmm
inspirational quotes, you may be
Oh.
getting saves on those, but you're never
hmm
going to get any sort of conversions from them simply because of the nature of quotes specifically and how that industry works on Pinterest. So
Yeah. Yeah.
what do we do instead, Jana?
Yeah. So what we want to do instead of spending all our time curating other people's stuff, other people's quotes or sharing recipes and thinking that that's going to get us clients is you need to create some long form content. Now, A lot of people get freaked out by this because they think, well, I don't want to be a blogger. I don't want to create content every week. I don't want to have to write an entire blog post every week, or I don't want to have to blog for the rest of my life or whatever.
Yep.
So I have solutions for all of that, in high leverage content because we're not bloggers, we're coaches with blogs. That's who's watching this. Or if you're a service provider with a blog, same concepts apply. Because again, the goal is to get clients. So if you're a coach, service provider, strategist, any of that type of thing. Um, so what I recommend if you are wanting to do Pinterest is you make a list literally of the things that you believe your audience needs to hear from you, your opinions, your thoughts, the things that they need to hear and learn and understand more deeply about your opinions, your offers, et cetera, to be ready to buy. And those are the things that you want to create a small but mighty library of long form content about. My favorite way to do that, and most of my students in HLC do that as a blog. But you could do it as a YouTube series if you prefer it on your YouTube channel. You could do it as a podcast. If you're going to do Pinterest for your podcast, I still recommend show notes. That's another topic
Yes.
altogether. But so inside high leverage content, that's what I teach. So if you aren't sure what those things are, the things that your audience needs to learn and hear and understand more deeply and sometimes unlearn, by the way, in order to be excited to hire you and ready to buy your thing, then, figure that out and create your long form content about that. And that's what I teach inside of high leverage content. So, I'll just do like a shameless pitch right now as we're recording on September 4th. The wait list is open for high leverage content. And anyone who joins the wait list can get in when we start September 19th, and there's a bonus and it's great. So it's like one-on-one time with me so I can help you figure out exactly what your audience
That
needs
is
to
a
hear,
good
learn,
bonus.
understand. Yeah,
Mhm.
to be ready to buy. And if you're watching this on the replay, you can head to my website and learn about high leverage content. So that's the shameless plug there. But that's really, to me, what needs to happen if you're a coach or a service provider and you want clients from Pinterest. And I think that there's kind of like two goals, and this is getting into another mistake that I'll cover in a minute, but you can use Pinterest to grow your audience and you can use Pinterest to get clients. And like sometimes there's a little bit of a misunderstanding about those things. So we'll talk about that. That's kind of like related to one of my mistakes too. So that's a big one. But that's the mistake that I'd say see that the most often with my course students. That's a mistake that they often make. So yeah,
Okay. I love the shameless plug and I love that mistake
we
and
do it.
course
We love selling
correction.
here. We love selling.
I know. One little tiny thing I want to add to this conversation before I forget is
Mhm,
oftentimes creators, bloggers, influencers, coaches, service providers, whoever you are listening, in these videos that we do and in the videos on the channel, you'll hear me talk about board covers
mhm,
and not dropping images on Pinterest that have dead links. And just to kind of circle back around to that quote conversation, it
mhm.
is imperative for you to not pin things to Pinterest that are dead links because
Yeah.
pinners want to visit your website. This
Mhm.
platform was built for traffic driving.
Yep.
So when you are thinking about,
People are
maybe you
trained. People are
yeah,
trained to click through when they see something they like. Yeah.
yeah. They're trained to save and they're trained to click through.
Hmm.
So I just think you guys have to put links on them, even if it's to your homepage. It's not my favorite destination. If you
Hmm.
don't have an offer, linking to the thing that you're creating, the board cover yet, maybe that's a secondary topic that
Hmm.
you are maybe curating some stuff on.
Hmm.
Maybe we should have a conversation about this, Jana, about when you should um curate, like situations that you should
Yep.
maybe curate versus when you should pin just only your own content. I think that could be a great conversation.
Yep.
But
Yep. I
I
agree.
have some boards on my profile that have board covers and I don't cover that topic, like Instagram strategy or whatever. So I'm still linking them to my
Oh,
website.
yep.
I
Hmm.
still don't want to put a dead link. So even if it's a quote, like let's try to send it back somewhere. So anyways,
Hmm.
capping off that mistake, what is
Yep.
in your list next?
Okay. The next one is a keyword mistake. And this is something that I have a lesson about inside of Pinterest with Purpose. So I'm just going to kind of share the lesson. Basically, it's a little bit of a peek at something that I normally reserve for people who've invested in the
Ooh.
course. but it's a good one. It's definitely applicable specifically to coaches and service providers, which is why I decided to bring it to this live stream. And it is basically when you're doing your keyword plan, right? And so with Pinterest, I always recommend that you start by doing some keyword research and make a list, usually a couple of Google pages, Google Doc pages long, right? Maybe 50 to 100 long tail keywords, which is a keyword
Yeah.
phrase. So like words that are, or keywords that are more than one word, that you want to be found for on Pinterest, right? So if let's say you're a gut health coach, maybe that is, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but let me share the mistake first, and then we can talk more about that. But when you're putting your keyword plan together, or when you're looking for keywords to add to a pin, if you're going to do it the slow way, I like to have a keyword plan in advance to save time. But when you're doing that and you're deciding, like, what do I want to be found for, right? When someone types in something into the search bar, or they have a board about that, or they've been looking for things about that before. What
Hmm.
do I, what are those things that I want my pins to be shown by Pinterest to these people when they're searching these phrases? What are those phrases, right? Um, so a mistake that I see a lot of coaches make, especially my health and wellness coaches, because I have a lot of those in my audience, but this is something a lot of folks do, is
Yep.
that they focus a little bit too much on the solution aware keywords. This is super nerdy, but it's important. And they kind of like forget about the problem aware keywords. Um, so I think you should have a mix. I think you need both. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're a gut health coach and more problem aware. Well, let's say start with solution aware. Some solution aware keywords would be things like heal your gut, the gut brain connection, things like that. And I've done a ton of keyword research for health coaches, so I happen to know that those things are being searched, heal your gut,
Yeah.
gut brain connection. But when people search those things, they're pretty solution aware already. And that's great. Like if people are searching for those things and you coach around that, then absolutely you want to be found by them because they're looking for the
Yeah.
solutions, right? But there's a lot of people on Pinterest who are actually problem aware, but aren't really aware of the solution yet. And so having some more problem aware keywords mixed in as well, so you can get found by people who are searching for things like IBS or how to reduce bloating, right? Or how many times a day should you poop or whatever, like, that might be more of a Google keyword search type of thing, but something like that. Um, Having some of those problem aware keywords where people are obviously typing those things in because they have problems that your offer and your work that you do with them solves, but they might not necessarily know yet about the gut brain connection, right? And what's going on with that. So that's a mistake I see, and it's really easy to solve. All you have to do is when you're doing your keyword research, when you're doing that keyword master plan that I recommend and I teach how to do, you just make sure that you're doing both, that you're saying, what are the solutions, what are the problems, and doing some keyword research around both and making sure you're mixing both in. So that's um
So
that's the mistake. And the
the
solution.
the peek behind the curtain for what I teach is very similar. I teach consideration awareness,
Mhm.
product style keywords in the
Right.
academy.
Yep.
So obviously awareness is the start. I said that backwards. Awareness and then consideration and then product because I
Right.
come at it from very Google, like I've been doing Google SEO for so long, but I see
Yep.
the same keyword phrases and things on Pinterest too. So
Mhm.
that's very much how I teach, and it's very much in line with your solution problem methodology.
Yeah, it's all based on the 5 stages of the buyer journey, which was
Yeah,
originally that book that was written in the 60s
it's old.
by, oh goodness,
No
we need to
idea.
know this guy's name. I know that I'll find it because we need
We
to
have done this on
cite
a
his
clubhouse
research, but
before.
mhm. It's Eugene something. I'll find it. Heather, are there any, we should make sure that we're looking at the questions too, just in case there's, um,
I don't have anything right now.
okay,
We have Olivia
Eugene,
here though.
is it,
Eugene Schwartz.
that's it. Thank you. I was like, Eugene Levy? No, no, that's not it.
No, not Levy, although he's great.
He is so great. He is so great.
He's
Schitt's
so
Creek,
great.
man. That
I
show.
know. Well, and everything else
So
that he's in.
good. Yep. Yeah. And everything else. Exactly.
Yeah, and his son too, and his daughter. Like
Hmm.
they're all great.
They're all
I don't
great. Yep.
understand.
I know. So much talent in one family.
I know.
Anyway, that's not what this is about.
So the solution is obviously for this problem is to use both versions to really get into the mindset of
Mhm.
your person. If you need help ideating around this, one of my really quick hacks for doing this
Mm.
is ChatGPT.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Specifically, ChatGPT and keywords everywhere.
Mm.
Because the
Little
keywords everywhere
power
tool,
combination. Hmm.
yeah, will tell you exactly what phase of the buyer journey that
Oh
keyword fits in.
yeah. That's super nerdy, but awesome.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites,
Yeah,
powerhouse.
yeah, that is fun.
You
And that
then
would be a
have to,
really good strategy for like the Pinterest managers who follow us who want to do that type of thing for their clients.
Mhm.
For my coaches, unless you're just like a keyword nerd and you love that stuff and you want to spend time doing it, I would recommend just using their brains and the Pinterest search bar,
Yeah.
basically, and
Well, what I was
looking
going
at
to
what
say,
looking at what their audience, asks them and stuff.
yeah,
So, mhm.
what I was going to follow that up with is you have to validate anything that comes out of that list
Oh
with
yeah,
Pinterest.
right, totally, because
You
we're
can't
not
just swipe that list and hope and pray. Like,
right.
we're not praying and spraying Pinterest with Google keywords.
Right. Or keywords that
Although,
ChatGPT tells us are being searched because ChatGPT is not a keyword research tool.
no, no.
But
And
it's a
that's
great
why
way
I
to get
tell you,
ideas or to expand your thought process. So if you're not sure, if you're like, you go into ChatGPT and you're like, I'm a gut health coach. Some of the keywords I want to be found for on Pinterest are heal your gut, gut brain connection. But I know those are very solution aware because Jana and Heather told me.
mhm,
So what are some more problem aware keywords that might be being searched? ChatGPT would probably give you a pretty good list, and then you could take those and go into Pinterest and see if they are being searched, or like you said, validate or verify that they are being searched before you hang your hat on them. Yes,
that's why I like to use the Keywords Everywhere extension because that tool
it skips a step.
specifically
Yeah. Mm.
feeds from the Google Keyword Planner, and the Google Keyword Planner is actually a keyword tool with volume information.
Hmm.
But a lot of times, a lot of those keywords will have no
No volume.
volume. Yeah.
Hmm. But on
So,
Pinterest,
yeah,
they might have
they
volume.
might. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
anyways, little hack
anyway,
there for you. Of
we're
course,
getting in the
Tamisha is showing.
weeds.
Tamisha's showing up in chat and she's like,
Hey, girl.
shorts? Question mark?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh
of
my
course
God.
she
She's
knows.
so good. Tamisha's so good.
Tamisha
Awesome.
knows, I think, everything, honestly. Tamisha, do you know
Yep.
everything? She says, LOL,
She's a
laughing.
voracious learner.
All right, Jana, tell us what your last mistake is in your list.
Yeah, the third mistake that I have is more like a mindset mistake, which is basically that people who are coaches and service providers who are looking to use Pinterest to grow their audience and get clients, very often, not always, but very often, if they have offers that are like $1,000 or more, right?
Yeah.
And when you have a quote high ticket offer, some people would say 1,000 is not high ticket, and that's fine, whatever. But if you have an offer that is going to require you to warm your audience up and grow some demand and trust before they're ready to buy,
Hmm.
which the more that, just generally speaking, the higher ticket the offer, the more that's going to require. Like it's going to be someone's probably going to be doesn't need to like learn a lot about you and trust you and have a lot of demand before they buy like a $7 thing that you offer if
No,
they're curious. But if you're selling something for $1,000 or $6,000 or a 1 year coaching package, right? For example, that's even more than that. There's going to need to be like some stepping stones in between them finding you on Pinterest because they searched
yeah.
for something. They searched, gut brain connection or how to reduce bloating, and they found your pin about that, and now they are aware of you as a gut health coach, right? What are they going to do? What are you going to do to warm them up? And this kind of comes back to you need to have blog posts or long form content that shows them the things that they need to know and hear and learn and hear and understand more deeply to be ready to buy. But what the mistake here is that people think that um, it sounds like I'm repeating the first mistake, but basically the reason I went here is because if you are a coach and you already have a sales process that is proven to convert, which basically that's called a funnel, whether you want to
Yeah.
call it that or not, that's what it is. It doesn't have to be an automated email sales funnel, but a funnel of some sort where as you grow your audience, that a certain percentage of those people are going to book a call with you, those calls convert well, et cetera. If you have a proven sales process, then you can go into Pinterest and you can think, you know what, I'm going to show up on Pinterest, bring people into my funnel, and I'm going to get clients this way. But if you don't have that yet, you need to think about Pinterest as an audience growth tool, knowing that as you grow your audience with people who are searching for heal your gut brain connection, IBS, how to reduce bloating, right?
Mhm.
Those very well may be your ideal audience, but you're growing an audience of those people. And you just need to be, again, thinking about what it's going to take to bring them from finding you. Because a lot of times we think of Pinterest as like cold people, which we like because that means it's new people who didn't know about you yesterday. And they
Yeah.
do know about you today because they searched for something and your pin came up, right? So we love that, but the other side of that coin is it's going to take a little bit. So the mindset thing here, I think that helps a lot of my students who are newer and they're still working out their sales process and everything, is thinking about Pinterest as an audience growth tool as opposed to a place where you're going to go and start DMing people and get clients. And so I guess maybe the mistake I'm trying to say is that some people think that they can um, like emulate their Instagram strategy where they go and they follow people and they comment and they engage and then they DM people and start conversations over on Pinterest. It's not really the way Pinterest works. It's not at all. So Pinterest is where people are going to find you and discover you, but it's probably not going to be where you convert them. It's going to be where
Yeah.
they get into your ecosystem, but it's probably not going to be the place you convert them. You're either going to need to convert them in an email, on your blog, on a sales call, things like that. So just being aware that Pinterest is an audience growth tool, and thinking of it that way and kind of training your brain to like celebrate the wins that you see that are related to your audience growth on Pinterest, as opposed to thinking, wow, I'm getting a lot of impressions. I'm even getting a lot of traffic to my website from Pinterest, but it's failing me because it's not, people aren't like clicking a pin and booking a call and buying my thing immediately.
Yeah.
Right. So,
No,
yep.
I think that's important, and it kind of goes along with the philosophy I have of parking your content on Pinterest and
Yep.
like just putting it there and having no expectations that you're gonna go mega viral or book $100,000 in revenue or whatever.
Yep.
We're parking our content there to be found by our audience when they're ready for us.
Yes. And we know they're ready because they just searched something and they found it.
Mhm.
And that's like when you talk about park your content, I always think about like, I take it a step further and I say, like, here's the deal. Like, if you put your content on Pinterest, like, say you're working hard on a podcast or a blog or a YouTube channel. If you put it on Pinterest and you have a little bit of a strategy, you have some good keywords, you know what to do over there because you learned it from me or you learned it from Heather and her membership, and you put your content there, when people search for your thing, let's say it's, heal your gut or how to reduce bloating, they can find you.
Yeah.
They could, but if you don't put your content on Pinterest and people search that thing, they won't find you.
Yeah.
So park your content on Pinterest so that when people do, they will be able to find you.
Yeah.
Just like like a simple minimum viable Pinterest strategy can just be so good for people's businesses for the long term. So,
And good for your mindset on, overall audience growth and marketing in general, because Pinterest is it's a platform that's so much less demanding from us than
mhm.
a social media platform that's video
Yep.
first.
Yep. Less demanding in terms of time commitment and less demanding in terms of like mental and emotional too, because we don't do that engagement. People aren't expecting you to comment. People aren't, you don't have
You're
to
not
go in and do that part.
managing DMs.
Right. So it is in that way, it's so much more low maintenance and,
Yeah.
oh, sorry. And this chair just moves around too much. I need to figure out a way to get it to stay put. Um, so yeah, it's lovely in that way. And then we just have to remember that it is a place where people discover us, and we need to be thinking about how they're going to go from discovering us to being ready to buy. And in my
Yep.
world, that's they read your content. That's how they get ready to buy.
Speaking of reading your content, tell us again how we can get on waitlist or join HLC.
That was slick. Yes. So high leverage content is my program. It's where you create a small but mighty, finite library of blog posts or other long form content. Most of my clients and students in the program do blog posts. And then we stop and we repurpose and we reshare. And Pinterest is one of the ways you can reshare that over and over again and get visibility for that content that you've worked hard to create. And right now the wait list is growing. We're opening on September 19th again. It'll be the last time we open for the rest of the year. So if there's anyone watching now or on the replay who knows that they want to stop thinking that recipes and other people's quotes and things like that are going to get them clients, and instead they want to grow their own library of thought leadership content, really, that shows people the things that they need to learn and hear and understand more deeply to be ready to buy. This is a great system for doing that, if I do say so myself. So we'll drop a link in the description of this video, but you can
Great.
always go to janaomedia.com too and find it in the menu, high leverage content.
Perfect. Okay. Well, this is our last week with you. We're taking 1 week off. We'll be back the following week after
Yeah.
because next week we're going to be together.
Yeah, we're going to be traveling together to a conference. So exciting.
And the week that we come back, we're talking about it's our last iteration of the mistake series, and we're talking about mistakes that bloggers make specifically. So we'll be
Yep.
back with you on the like 18th of September,
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today. Same place, same usual time. Although the time is for me going to quickly change in
Oh,
November.
yeah. Right.
So
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
looking forward to that again,
I
but
know it shakes things up for you. And I just want to say too, in 2 weeks when we talk about bloggers, we're talking about bloggers who monetize in the traditional blogger
yeah.
ways. So like with ad traffic, or traffic for and ads for like, ad networks like Mediavine as an example. I know there's others, and affiliate links and things like that. So we're talking that's who we're talking to in 2 weeks. Whereas what we talked about today is really for people who, if you are someone who has a blog, I say you're not a blogger, you're a coach with a blog. These two things are very different. The Pinterest strategy is really different. So that's what we're talking
Yeah.
about in 2 weeks is the one for the bloggers, the traditional bloggers.
Yep. Okay. We'll see you back here then.
See you
Bye for
then.
now.
Bye.
Okay, we're out.
Thanks.
Great. I'm
Whew.
excited.